Welcome everyone, it's Frank here from Grace Explain, and it's another response video. Today's video is going to be looking at another Jesus. That's right, there is more than one Jesus, one gospel. There are different gospels out there being preached, and they're not going to help you in your quest for being a child of God. The mixed messages are very dangerous. Paul says that anyone that says or brings a different gospel to you, even if it's an angel from heaven, aside from what the apostles taught, he said, let them be accursed. In fact, in 2 Corinthians, he brings this up. He makes the point there. Let me grab my notes real quickly. He says in 2 Corinthians 11, 3-4, it says, but I fear lest any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. For it is he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached. Notice, he who comes and preaches another Jesus, whom they have not preached, or receive another spirit, a different spirit as well, which you have not received, or another gospel, even another gospel. He says, which you may not accept, you might well bear with him. So Paul's warning the congregation there about false teachers and false, false messages about Jesus. It's usually a mixed message, and you'll hear this every week. It's a mixed message of grace plus works. Grace and works. And I'll explain what that looks like in a general way. There's about 6 or 7 different types of mixed gospels out there, besides a pure grace gospel, which is Jesus, if I can put this simply, Jesus plus nothing. That is the grace gospel. So to bear with him means to basically hold oneself up against. Okay, so there's a lot of twisting and perverting of the true gospel, and it's destroying, trying to destroy the grace gospel, which is the most powerful gospel out of all of them. All the different gospels out there, the purer, the authentic gospel of grace is the most strongest one for you. And so we're going to identify some of the problems or what it looks like basically when you're adding additives. You're adding additives to this beautiful message. You may think of some of them add fasting, some of them add the moral laws, parts of it, right, from the 10 Commandments or something like that. Some have tithes, formalistic prayers, Christian duties, living by principles. Principles are often the basis for rules, believe it or not. We've mentioned some of the laws, works of service, self-sacrificing, pioneering, obligations to preach, etc., etc. Now, at the hands of a graceless religion, these good things become death-dealing burdens. JWs even go a little bit further because they even base your salvation on obedience to the organization. For example, here's 2 quotes from Watchtower 89 and 2006. The first one from the Watchtower 89, September 1. It says, only Jehovah's Witnesses, those of the anointed remnant and the great crowd, as united organization under the protection of the supreme organizer, have any scriptural hope of surviving. Have any scriptural hope. Where's that? Of surviving the impending doom dominated by Satan and the devil. And then 2006, just as Noah and his God-fearing family were preserved in the ark, survival of individuals today, what is it based on? It says depends on their faith and there's an and there, and their loyal association with earthly part of Jehovah's universal organization. The only way to survive, apparently, according to the Watchtower, is by even being part of the organization. That is non-negotiable in their eyes. In their eyes, I say, not scripturally speaking. Even the way you're being saved They don't even really clearly express that or explain that. Like Paul said to the Galatians, "O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you before the eyes of Jesus?" They were walking with the grace, then they decided, no, let's go back to some of the laws, right? Yeah, we need some laws and rules and regulations. Let's not be foolish. So today, no matter where you are, no matter which religion or kingdom hall or church group you go to, if it's not pure grace, you'll be getting a mixed message of grace slash gospel type messages. And let me ask you, do you know the difference? What is the difference? Let me give you a little definition, and you'll see it once I say it. A mixed grace gospel combines the unmerited favor of God, right? Or as a JW, the undeserved kindness or the grace of God, with the merited wage of human effort, right? Human effort is involved as well. You got to do your bit. You're saved by grace, but you maintain your position through right living and good behavior, is a mixed message. Or God gives you grace so that you can what? Keep his commandments. Go out preaching, do the right thing. You're obligated, right? Your obligations now. That's the mixed message. That is not the grace gospel message. It's more simpler than that, and it's more freeing than that. It's more powerful. In fact, if you're in grace, you should be resting. It should be easy, and should be proud to say it's easy. Most mixed messages can be recognized by the presence of carrots and sticks, right? There's a carrot like a horse, and then there's a stick for the penalties that you pay for disobedience. If you sin, you must confess. If you sin, you must confess. Whereas the old law, if you sinned, it didn't matter. You had to wait till the end of the year to offer up your sacrifice with the priest, right? You give your sacrifice, and then the blood does its job, and then you're right for 12 months. Today, it's if you do right, you'll be accepted. If you preach, you get and go to all your meetings, you're safe. Don't question the leadership doctrine and changes, accept and be obedient. If you act holy, you'll be holy. And what happens if you don't do these things? What are the sticks of the mixed grace messages? Usually, if you fail to perform according to the codes of conduct, you'll lose your forgiveness, you could lose your fellowship, and if worse comes to worse, you may even lose your favor and be kicked out of the organization, and you're on your way to losing your salvation. Now, let me ask you this question. Based on that type of mixed message of grace gospel, or the grace gospel plus whatever the works, does that sound like good news to you? Mixed messages, it's sort of got a bit of a bitter taste, doesn't it, when you think about the fruitage? What sort of type of fruitage is that producing? Well, once you feel pressure to perform, and you don't want to feel like you want to don't disappoint anyone, once you make a lot of promises to God because you keep on failing, and you'll vow to do better and not break any rules again, won't you resolve to try harder and harder because you fell down, because it's very hard to keep up with these rules and regulations and obligations? What's going to happen? Most people become burnt out and stressed out and neurotic in their worship. Why? Well, it's because mixed grace messages from the leadership tends to put too much emphasis on you and what you have done or haven't done. And so your identity is always defined by your productivity. Okay? You'll start to think yourself as God's servant, good for nothing slave, should have done more, should have been there, should have, what if, and could have done, right? You start to feel like a slave instead of a child of God. So don't swallow this poison. It is a poison message, and it comes from out of the spoonful of grace. There is poison in that spoon. Romans 11:6 says, "And if by grace then it cannot be based on works. If it were, grace would no longer be grace. What a powerful text. He gives us grace because he loves us, and he's not expecting anything from us. It is a free gift. And those who receive from the abundance of grace do indeed work, and they often work harder than anyone else, but that's neither here nor there. And it's really important to understand that. The issue is not what you'll do for God, but what you'll let him do for you. Will you trust him a little bit, or will you trust him the whole way? Does his grace merely get you in the front door, or does it keep you safe to the very end? There's some questions to think about. The followers of Jesus asked this question in John 29, and we might just wrap it up real quickly. They asked him, what must we do to be doing the works of God? Notice the plural. What are the works of God? Okay. And Jesus' response in the next verse will contradict this sense of works-based salvation. Jesus said, this is the work of God. What? One singular work. This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent. That's what you got to believe in. Again, who is it? Jesus. He's saying you. Notice that answer? It's a singular, and it's to believe in him. So friends, what is the gospel that saves? That will be my next response video. These are little videos that will come up, and I'm going to break it all down into little bites so that we can then get a clear understanding what the gospel is, and try and knock on the head some of these objections or these little side points that people are preaching out there, which is not gospel. It's a works-based gospel, and it's having a detrimental effect on people's lives. Thanks for your time, guys. Tune in for the next video. I realize that some people object to works because they think of James chapter 2, works without faith is dead, and so they throw that in the mix. So I'll answer that as well in a short little video like this. Thanks for your time once again. Have a great day, and talk to you soon. See you.